Hey Calibrate Tools family, let's learn how to use a blowtorch. So blowtorches are the go-to tool for soldering copper pipes, fixing leaky pipes. They're even used for paint removal by heating up the paint. Not to mention heating up pipes that were frozen over. You can thaw them out. And obviously, if worse comes to worse, you can even cook with them. So what exactly is a blowtorch? Blowtorches are pretty much a self-contained system that uses pressurized gas like propane, butane, or what they call MAP gas to produce and maintain a flame. Unlike other torch systems that require a separate tank of oxygen to feed the flame, for example, an oxyacetylene torch, blowtorches rely on the oxygen in the surrounding atmosphere to feed the flame. Now there's 4 types of fuel that blowtorches or torch systems use. Okay, you have propane, which is in the blue cylinder. These 2 right here contain propane. And then you have one called MAP gas or MAP Pro. That's what they call it. It's labeled on the side right there. It says MAP Pro. Propane is used for soldering pipe. You can use it to soften really hard adhesives like flooring adhesives, things like that, industrial adhesives. And you can also use it to loosen those rusty, stubborn nuts and bolts that won't budge for anything. Out of all the gases, propane is the most common. People use it to heat all kinds of things like water. They use it in barbecues, portable stoves, RVs, even laundry dryers. That's how common propane is. MAP gas, on the other hand, burns much hotter than propane and it burns more efficiently. When you're talking about soldering or brazing large copper pipes, this is what you want to use. And if you don't know what brazing is, it's the process of joining 2 pieces of metal together without melting the base metal. That's different from welding. Welding, you're going to melt the base metal. You're going to fuse the base metal of 2 different objects together, 2 different pieces of metal together. Brazing, you don't do that. You're using a filler metal to join 2 pieces of metal together. The 2 other types of fuel are butane and oxygen. Now, oxygen comes in a green tank, so if you look at an oxyacetylene setup, you'll see a big green tank that contains the oxygen. Butane burns at a much lower temperature than all of these, and you can even use it for shrink tubing and other small soldering jobs. So if you're confused as to what's in the cylinder, it tells you right on the cylinder. Just turn it, and the label says propane. That says MAP Pro, as I showed you before. And once again, that says propane. Okay, so now that we know about fuel, let's talk about the torch heads. Each of these cylinders have their own specific torch head. Even though these 2 blue ones contain the same fuel, they have 2 different torch heads. Why is that? Well, this particular torch kit is called a utility torch. That's the brand name for it. Aside from the size of this torch head, as you can tell, it's much smaller than the other ones. It's pretty much the same thing. It has an adjustable knob, which is this right here. And that knob regulates the pressure and the flow of the fuel or the gas coming out of the cylinder. It has a trigger right here to ignite the flame. And of course, it has the nozzle. This particular torch kit with the smaller torch head is meant to be used upright. In other words, it won't perform well if you're pointing the nozzle in all these different directions. Down, sideways, up. It's best used upright. So it's good for lighting things like your barbecue grill. It's good for basic DIY repairs and light soldering. This torch head belongs to the basic torch kit, and the only difference between this torch head and this torch head is that this one allows you to tilt it in different directions. Other than that, they both perform the same functions. The MAP Pro torch head, not only is it bigger than this one and around the same size as this one, but it's much heavier than this one as well because it's made of a much sturdier material, almost feels like metal. Has the adjustable knob here, has the trigger right there to ignite the flame, and you can tell that the nozzle tip is much sturdier. And I think this is built this way because it's handling a much more intense fuel type, the MAP gas or MAP Pro fuel. Okay, now before attaching this to the cylinder, you want to make sure that the adjustment knob, the regulator knob, is all the way closed. And you do that by turning it clockwise until it stops. It's recommended to hand tighten it and don't force it. I'm going to take this cap off. Then when you attach this to the cylinder, you want to make sure that the nozzle or burner tube, as they call it, is pointing away from people or any flammable materials. So you want to take this and thread it onto the cylinder. Hand tighten it only, as recommended. You don't want to use any channel locks or anything like that to make it tight. You're just going to damage it and possibly cause an explosion. Okay, so when you're getting ready to light the torch, you don't want to tip it, okay? It says that you shouldn't tip it more than 60 degrees in any direction. Otherwise, you may get a flare-up when you light it. So the first thing you want to do is turn the adjustment knob counterclockwise until it stops. You may hear the gas flowing as I do that. Okay, stop right here, and you don't want to force it once again, okay? And make sure that the nozzle is always pointing away from you when you do this, because gas is coming out. You don't want to be looking down into the nozzle while you do that. And after you do that, just pull the trigger. You may have to pull it more than once. So once the flame lights, you can let go of the trigger and it'll stay lit. And you can use the adjustment knob to adjust the flame to your liking. And remember, do not engage the trigger while it's lit. To turn the flame off, just turn it clockwise until it stops. Let's see how the MAP gas burns. Yeah, that's way more intense than the propane. I'm gonna have to press this button before I let my finger go. There's a button right here. All right, guys, so now you know how to use a blowtorch, but do not neglect to read all the safety instructions that come with using a device like this. It does produce an intense flame, so you want to leave it out of reach of children, disconnect the torch from the cylinder when not in use, and a whole bunch of other things. If you learned something from the video, please hit that like and subscribe. See all the links below that I have for you to support the channel. Guys, hit me up in the next one. See you soon.